In this video, we are checking out the random noise generating delay from Janis L.V. Now, that's what rNGD stands for. And if you're thinking random noise generating delay, okay, so kind of like the edge, but with like some tricky stuff going on, this is not that pedal. This pedal is something that you plug into and it takes over. It's a wild stallion. You need to figure out how the knobs work. You need to use your creativity to figure out how to use this guy, because it's not a simple plug and play and you get great luscious tones. This is a creative tool, but it's, like I said, a wild stallion. The way I look at the rNGD is that it's something that's going to create some noises that you're not going to be able to do on your own. And if you know how to set it properly, you're going to be able to get some very unique tones where people are going to go, what is that? What's happening? This is very intriguing. It's kind of like ear candy. So this first setting that we're going to go with is one where when you play a note, there's a cascade of notes that happen randomly. And the way to achieve it is going to be playing the higher register. So the high E string around somewhere like the 12 string and up. This is where it's going to trigger this pedal. Now, another thing that's noteworthy about the random noise generator is that the tone knob and the volume knob are actually how you control this thing. So if you leave everything on full blast, you try different settings, it might be unruly. And the way you're going to bring this down to a more playable level is to really mess around with your pickup selection, your volume, and your tone. Now, sometimes only one or the other will work, and in other settings, both of them will interact with whatever you're playing. So let's start with this first example. Now, why you would want to use that is for creative use. Maybe it's a kind of riff you want to use in a song just to create interest, or maybe it's something for an intro, an outro, whatever it is. Hopefully you can see everything here clearly with the secondary camera. I did everything I could so that you could replicate these settings if you have the rNGD. And like I said, if there's anything about the volume and tone, I will let you know how to achieve each tone specifically. So let's start with this first example. Now for this first setting, you're going to notice that I kind of tweaked it from what we saw at the beginning of the video. So over here, I'm just a little past 3 o'clock. And for this knob here, I'm not all the way cranked, so I went all the way cranked and dialed it back to try to get some of that noise out. And that also controls how the notes are generated. What I'm doing for this example is I'm taking the tone all the way off, keeping the volume all the way on. I'm going to play with both. I'm going to start with the tone not rolled back at all, and then I'm going to roll it back. You're going to hear a difference in how this sounds. So this next setting I call the upward glitch. It's slightly different than the previous example, whereas these have stayed the same, so the toggle switches are the same. For the scalums, it's still the same, but for this guy, I turned it all the way off. The one in the middle is at 9 o'clock, and both of these are set at noon. What this is going to be doing is creating this cascading of upward glitching notes, but you can only control them from the volume knob. So that means your tone, not so much responsive in this particular setting, but you're going to have to fine tweak with the volume knob. So I'm going to show you what it sounds like full on and then almost all the way off, and then I'm going to dial it in until I hear what I want. So we're going to start off with this first example. So you're going to notice it's noisy, but you kick something in like this to create some noise. Now this setting I call the messed up delay. I was going to call it the effed up delay, but I'm just going to call it the messed up delay because that's what it is. You get some really cool delay while you're striking the note, but if you hold on to the note too long, things get very chaotic. So what I'm going to do is use an EBO style device from Joyo, just so I can play single note runs, and you're going to see what that sounds like. For this setting, what I'm doing is I'm going for a fuzz tone. So I'm not going through the clean channel because it doesn't sound as good through the clean channel, but if you send it through the dirty channel of your amp, or if you send it into one of your favorite overdrives, you're definitely going to be in the territory of something like Mosrite, Fuzzrite kind of thing. So I'm going to start with the core tone, and then I'm going to kick in the pedal. So this next setting I'm calling the haunting delay. The reason for this is that you can get these really atmospheric kind of delays, but you also get an octave down sound depending on whether you use the tone knob or not. So if you're all the way up on the tone knob, you're going to get that little sub thing going. But if you roll it back, you're going to get rid of it. So you can kind of dial in how much of that sub you want with whatever note you're playing. Also, you need to control the guitar volume. Now, if you're all the way, it's super chaotic and really hard to control. So what I suggest is that you mess around with the guitar volume, but you get this hiss at the end of each notes. So the way to control this is to play more notes. You're going to see what happens. You're going to hear it as I'm playing. But essentially, I'm going through the dirty side of the Rivera, and this is the core tone. And what I'm also going to do is use the neck pickup instead of the bridge. I call this next setting the Neil Young. Neil Young was really well known for dialing in some crazy tones with his guitars, and a lot of people are mystified by what he used, I being one of them. So what I'm doing here is just going for like this not quite fuzz, not quite distortion kind of tone. It is a bit unruly, so what I suggest is to go on the neck pickup, then dial in the volume to taste, and I go for the tone all the way off. With this particular setting, I'm still going through the dirty channel to get that kind of fuzzish kind of tone. So we're going to start with the core tone first. Then I'm going to dial it in. I call this next setting the NES. I could have called it the SNES. So I'm just going for that old like Mario Brothers type of game that came out in the mid 80s, that real glitchy 8-bit, 16-bit kind of thing. So I'm going through the dirty channel of the M60. The tone doesn't do anything on this particular setting. Everything is controlled via the volume knob. Now pay attention, because if I'm around like 2 or 3 on the volume knob, you get like this low end, almost wah kind of thing opening and closing behind the notes. And if you don't like that, you want to dial it out, or you just want to be able to control it, it's going to be with the volume knob. So the lower you are, the more that effect is present behind each note you play. If you want to dial it out, you increase the volume. I'm going to be on the neck pickup because that's where I find it to be most responsive, but I'm going to be playing with both pickups so you can hear the effect. So I'm going through the dirty channel of the M60. This is the core tone and what it sounds like. I hope that these tips were helpful to you. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments section below. In the meantime, if you're interested in seeing any more videos from Janis L.V or any other pedal related videos, there's going to be 2 playlists appearing on screen right now. Click on one of those and I'm going to see you in the next one. Cheers.